The Bank of Romney has been serving Hampshire County and the surrounding area since 1888. Come visit your community bank at any of our 6 locations. At the Bank of Romney, you are someone special.
First grade at Romney. My teacher was Miss Charlotte Stump. I loved school during World War I when we all had that dreadful Spanish flu. And when they came to my room, they said, "This one is the worst." And I never forgot those words. It left me with a cough, and I'm 97 years old and still have it.
You live down on River Road. You told me once before that George Washington had surveyed your land down there.
George Washington, as a 16-year-old boy, was employed by Lord Fairfax as a surveyor, and he wrote in his diary many things of interest. One was that the trough was a way through the mountains, but there was no road. There was a river only. And we think that he camped on the grounds of the poor farm where Arnolds live now. The Millars, who are my ancestors, who came from Front Royal, Virginia, and they were Huguenots, descended from Louis de Bois, and that's why I'm a Huguenot, they being French. I went to Romney High School and graduated in 1932.
Then you go down to Shepherd after that?
No, I went over to Potomac State and studied for a year. After that, I went to Shepherd where I played basketball. I was a guard, being little and short, but being quick. I would get the ball and throw it to my friend. We were only allowed to play half a court then. You couldn't go the whole court. And studied to be a teacher. They gave me a school back over from home. It was called Forest Hill. It was on the mountain on the other side of the river. To go to school, I walked to the river where I kept a boat. I crossed the river, walked up the mountain to a little red schoolhouse where I taught school for $85 per month.
You lived on a farm and you had a big garden. The Depression really didn't affect you that much.
And not as much as it did people who didn't live on the farm.
People had to buy all their food.
Yeah, see, there were 8 children, and my mother and father, and oft times my grandpa, and we depended on what we raised. We didn't notice so much difference. I met my future husband, Warren D. Horner. We were married 1936. The next thing exciting happened, 1937. I gave birth to a little girl named Betsy. Betsy Horner grew up to be a lovely girl, very, very intelligent.
Where all did you teach?
I went to live in Shepherdstown, where my husband taught us a college. The boys all went to World War II. and I was working on my degree in school. And the county superintendent came knocking at my door and asked me if I would teach or take a principalship. And I told him, yes, I would, but all I had was one-room school. And he said, well, they're the best teachers. He gave me a school. I was the principal out at Middleway. Then along came rationing, and of course I was a principal. I had to read up on that, line up the farmers' wives, and ration stuff. So we rationed. Sugar was most popular at canning time. But you had to get a pair of shoes and gosh knows what else with a ration ticket.
I
Well,
understand you've gone trips all over the world.
oh, that happened after I retired
Right.
from teaching. My cousin Nancy Lewis and we traveled all the Holy Lands and went in the pyramids and had a wonderful, wonderful time. Then we started other trips. When we went to Australia, we saw these beautiful camels who had been used in developing Australia. They were larger camels and they had been well taken care of, but I wanted to ride one. They were so beautiful, and I rode one of those beautiful camels, and Australia was one of my favorite trips. One place I'd like to go, and that's the inner passway to Alaska. I want to ride a sled pulled by dogs and see the interior of an igloo.
Now, would you go?
Oh, if my nurse would go with me.
We're in what they call a recession right now.
I don't know the modern generation. They'll suffer the same problems, I believe, and they'll have to make adjustments like the people in 33 did. But we've survived so much. My people survived the war between the states, and they lost some of their best young men, captains. 2 of them were killed. Now, I think we'll survive. I hope it made sense.
Oh, you're a
You
pleasure.
always make sense. I can't keep up with you.
I'm just an old woman.
I'm going to take you up to Alaska. You and I are going to take off.
Oh, wouldn't we have fun?
I'm sure we would.
Oh, that's my great ambition.